What's going on, my soul family? Welcome to another episode of the Awake with Jake show. On today's episode, I'm going to be answering a question that I received from one of my listeners. Hey Jake, you talk a lot about tapping into our feminine energy and how to awaken it, but how do I work on my masculine energy as a 24-year-old guy? My father was physically but primarily emotionally abusive from ages 12 to 18. It seemed like his goal was to beat me down emotionally, so I had no fight left in me, so I learned to repress my needs, desires, opinions, because this is the only thing that would ease the abuse. I've been working on healing but having problems with my masculine energy in relationships, and they usually only last for a few months. Thank you. Your content has given me the strength throughout my healing process. Now, when I got this message, I felt so much into it because this was my exact situation with my father. I grew up in an environment where my dad was very physically and emotionally abusive. And because he carried so much wounded masculine energy of his own, he projected all of that anger and violence onto me. And I really just became his punching bag for like his outlet of stress. So I grew up in a very similar environment. So I can totally relate with this and this pain of being abused by a father. And maybe you can as well. So now I'm so proud of this young man sending me this question because it's amazing seeing a younger man want to step more into sacred masculinity. And I think it's really a beautiful thing. And as the world shifts energetically, you're going to start seeing more of this. So it's really an exciting time right now. But really what I want to first help people understand and help the listener understand that ask this question, help you understand, is that the differences between sacred masculinity and wounded masculinity. Now, wounded masculinity would be overgiving, overdoing, overthinking. It is aggressive, abusive, forceful, and very dominating. Okay. And maybe you've been exposed to that before, and maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is what we can call the dark masculine energy or the wounded masculine energy. Now, this masculine energy is kind of like a corrupt file that's been downloaded into our energetic system. It's being purged out right now. And I believe it's actually being purged out by the divine feminine energy. So the next step in understanding this and understanding all of this is that when I went through my healing process, and I still do at times, don't get me wrong, but as I went throughout the beginning of my healing process, I used my feminine energy because we carry both energies. I used my feminine energy to cleanse the wounded masculine energy that I was carrying. Now, what did that look like? The feminine energy I used by going into nature, which is the mother feminine energy, and purging these wounds from my system, these father wounds that I was carrying, these masculine wounds that I was carrying. And I did this by going out into nature for 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, and literally crying in the mountains of California. I had literally drove through the night, moved to California, moved into the mountains for a period of 6 months, and pretty much isolated myself while going through this phase of stepping into my masculine energy. And I didn't even know what I was doing at this point. I didn't even know much about masculine and feminine energy. I had started studying it, but I didn't know a lot about it then. But at the time, I was activating so much feminine energy, and it was activating this deep healing within me because it was like the mother was just coming through me and washing me of my wounds, of my pain. And it was really such a beautiful thing, but it was so painful. I mean, I cried a lot during that time. So I think before we even get into how to activate more masculine energy and how to embody that more, I think you have to clean out the energetic wounds. So it starts with first forgiving your dad, because you have to realize that he did the best he could. He gave you what he could. And same thing with my dad. It took me 5 years of deep inner work to have a good relationship with my father, which I now have. My dad is one of my best friends in my life now. I'm not saying that you need to have that with your father. Maybe you never talk to your dad again, and that's okay. But you can forgive him energetically. So a couple ways in which you can do that. You can do a forgiveness meditation and cry it out and release it out, which is what I've done many times. Or you can sit down and write him a letter and then burn the letter with the intention to free him from your heart. Now, because of the masculine energy growing up, it was unstable. You didn't trust masculine energy growing up. So you gravitated more, you clung more to the feminine energy, which is more of the emotion, more of the expression, more of creativity, more of intuition, which is really beautiful. But if you're trying to figure out how to balance that out, it starts with learning how to trust that masculine energy again and feel safe with that masculine energy if you want to connect with your own masculine energy. Now, if you're a woman watching this and you don't trust masculine energy, you're naturally going to animate more of your own. You're going to be running more on more masculine energy, meaning you're going to create an imbalance in your system. And now because you have so much masculine energy in your system, because you don't trust the masculine energy, you're going to energetically repel masculine men from coming in, and you're going to attract to you more of a feminine partner because you attract your energetic reciprocal. Now, back to this question though, is healing. Forgiveness of your dad, forgiveness of yourself. It is okay to let him go from your spiritual heart and love him from afar. You don't have to have a relationship with him. I was just fortunate enough to be able to actually have a relationship with my dad. Now understand that by healing yourself, you're actually healing your entire family lineage. Because if you're the person in your family that wakes up in your life, it is a really big responsibility, right? When you wake up in your family and you become spiritually awake, you start healing yourself, but you also are healing the entire family lineage. That's a big responsibility, but it is worth it. It is worth it to heal that lineage and move on from this wounded masculine energy, which we've all been exposed to.